It all makes sense now. Ever since Dragon Ball Daima was announced, no one knew how it would fit into Super, and especially GT. And needless to say, things have been a little wild. But we know that Daima is a direct continuation of Dragon Ball Z, so it's canon to that story. And as far as we know, Super is also canon to Z. And people have trouble putting GT into the timeline because there's no God forms and nothing from Super, which, yeah, it came out like over 20 years later. But finally, I think I cracked the code. This is coming out before the end of the series, so they haven't named this form of Goku yet. So we're just gonna call him Super Saiyan 4. Now this version of Super Saiyan 4 from Daima is definitely different from GT. In GT, his hair is black, the fur goes all the way down to his wrist, and his forearms are thinner. So it's fair to say that this form is more monkey-like, which makes sense because they're technically harnessing the power of the Ozaru. Okay, but how does that form link up to Super? Well, I've given myself the impossible task of trying to make sense of Toriyama's changes. So in Dragon Ball Super, Beerus shows up, they do the Super Saiyan God ritual, which results in Goku getting this form with the red hair. And if you notice, he's a little slimmer than he was before. Conversely, you get this version of SS4 from Daima. Is it gonna sound dumb, but Super Saiyan God Goku's hair is red. Someone needed to get held right now. But the reason it's red is because of the God Ki. I'm gonna make a long shot call and say the reason that Goku's hair isn't black in this Super Saiyan form is because he's technically harnessing Demon Ki. And she moved on. And the reason I think he's powered by Demon Ki is because Neva unlocked the form. Okay, I guess that explains the red hair, but why look like a monkey instead of normal Super Saiyan God? Short answer? Broly. This is Broly's wrathful form from Dragon Ball Super Broly. And if you see, his irises turned yellow and there's more black lines around his eyes. Surprise, surprise, just like Super Saiyan 4. And according to the official Dragon Ball website in 2022, this was labeled Great Ape Transformation for Broly, because he's able to take the power of the Ozaru and use it in his regular base form. So with DBS Broly, they were starting to plant the seeds of Super Saiyan 4 coming back. But if this is all true, why doesn't he use the form in Dragon Ball Super? Well, let's get into it. I think that just like with the original Super Saiyan God ritual, this demon form will not last. Because when Goku was fighting Beerus up in space, the God form dissipated and he just got a Zenkai boost. I think the same thing's going to happen with this version of Super Saiyan 4. That's why when Super comes around and they do the Super Saiyan God ritual, instead of getting Demon Ki, he gets God Ki. It's a little more elegant. And eventually, Broly is able to access that Ozaru power on his own, even though he only does it for a little bit. And hilariously, there's actually in-universe justification for what I'm saying. Vegeta got Super Saiyan God without the ritual. So why wouldn't Broly be able to access Demon Ki power the same way? And as to why it wasn't used in Dragon Ball Super's manga, we can easily say Goku wouldn't go back to trying to use a weaker demon form if UI is more powerful. I mean, realistically, how often would Goku and Vegeta use Super Saiyan 3 once they got their God Ki? The answer? Very rarely. And in GT, Goku gets his tail back with the help of the Kais. And maybe the reason that we have Goku in Super Saiyan 4 in GT is because his tail came back and he's once again able to tap into the Ozaru power. However, this one looks different than the original because this one does not have the Demon Ki. And like I said earlier, maybe the reason that we don't get the God Ki anymore in Dragon Ball GT is because this form is stronger. And really, Goku does not like to backslide. But the thing everybody has to realize is the fact that Daima, Super, I'm talking about the manga, the movies, all of it takes place between Goku taking out Kid Buu and the end of Dragon Ball Z, where he takes Oob to go train. The only thing canonically set after this is GT. So Goku gets this form in the Demon Realm using Demon Ki, loses the power, ditches it for God Ki in the future, ditches it all for the Ozaru power mixed with Super Saiyan. Or, the other scenario, besides making the original character designs, Toriyama wasn't involved in the original 3 Broly movies, who you could argue is probably the most recognizable Dragon Ball Z villain ever made. So when the time came, he wanted to put his own spin on the character, and reclaim it and make it really his. And the same thing with Dragon Ball GT, where he made the original character designs and then walked away. And, love it or hate it, GT has a huge impact on the history of Dragon Ball. And in 2005, Toriyama said he had nothing to do with the creation of Super Saiyan 4. Not gonna lie, my favorite Super Saiyan form. The closest thing that would look like the Super Saiyan 4 transformation we know is this early version of the Super Saiyan 3 design. So Toriyama made his own new story. One where the heroes get shrunk into kids, they have to travel across space, trying to find different kinds of Dragon Balls to be able to wish themselves back to being adults and get a new cool monkey form in the process. Otherwise known as Dragon Ball GT. Toriyama didn't care if this was canon or not. He just wanted to put his own take on popular Dragon Ball stories that people loved. But at the end of the day, you could say, it really doesn't even matter.